Do you want to easily be able to play arpeggios across the neck in multiple positions? Many times the subject of arpeggios can become quite complex very quickly for people. We tend to think of arpeggios that are 5 or 6 strings across and aren't that easy to use in a soloing situation. What we're going to do today is we're going to play arpeggios based on just 2 strings. Then we'll simply play octaves of the same shape moving diagonally across the neck. And since these are 2-string arpeggio shapes, it's easier to identify the intervals that we'll be using and also target certain notes when you're soloing. By the way, if you're just getting started with soloing, make sure to download my free beginner soloist handbook that I've put together. It's packed with all sorts of scales and arpeggios and reference materials so that you have it all in one place. The link is in the description below. Now, all of these arpeggio examples are going to be rooted off of the note A to keep things simple and in the same basic area of the guitar fretboard. Each arpeggio will be comprised of 4 notes, 2 on each string. That is what makes these arpeggios easy to play and easy to memorize. The first arpeggio we're going to cover is the major 7 arpeggio. The major 7 arpeggio will begin with the 7th, the root, then on the 5th string, the 3rd, and then the 5th. One more time. 7, 1, 3, and 5. Those are the intervals. So then we just play the octaves thereof. Beginning here on the 4th string, I play the exact same shape. Then I adjust for the tuning difference up here on the B string, so I have to go up 1 fret and play the exact same shape right here. So all together. Now that's a great sounding arpeggio and very easy to use over a 1 or 4 chord in a major key. Now 1 and 4 chords in a major key are major chords, and they are where the major 7 arpeggio is actually harmonized. Now if you play the major 7 arpeggio over the 1 and 4 chords, they don't have to be major 7 chords. It could just be major chords, and then you're simply adding a little bit of color to the overall sound, and it will work. The next arpeggio we're going to look at is the dominant 7. It's going to include the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and a flat 7. So we take that major 7 arpeggio we had, and we flatten the 7th degree, 1 fret, and we end up getting this, a dominant 7th. Then we play the octave thereof. Tuning difference. The dominant 7th arpeggio will work perfectly over the 5 chord in a major key. You can also use it in a blues context directly over any dominant 7th chords that you're using in a blues progression. So play an A dominant 7th arpeggio over an A7, a D dominant 7th arpeggio over a D7, and so forth. The third arpeggio we're looking at is the minor 7. We're going to take that dominant 7th arpeggio we were using, we're going to flat the 3rd down to here. And that gives us the minor 7 arpeggio. The flat 7, the root, flat 3rd, and the 5th. And then the octave thereof. Adjust for the tuning difference. And you'll notice the next octaves are always exactly the same shape, and that's what makes this so easy. Here it is all together. Now you can play this arpeggio over the 2, 3, and 6 chords in a major key, or the 1, 4, and 5 chords in a natural minor key. The next arpeggio is the minor 7 flat 5. We're going to take that minor 7 arpeggio, and we're going to flat the 5th, like that. So we get the flat 7, the root, the flat 3rd, and now a flat 5. And then the octaves thereof. All 3 octaves together. And This arpeggio sounds great over the 7th chord in a major key, which would be a minor 7 flat 5 chord, or the 2 chord in a minor key, which would be the same chord. The last arpeggio is going to be the diminished 7. We're going to take the minor 7 flat 5 chord we just did. We're going to flat the 7 one more time and make this a fully diminished 7 arpeggio. So here's the flatted 7, and I flat that one more time. What you end up with is a double flat 7, and then the root, the flat 3rd, and the flat 5th. It's basically just stacked minor 3rds, and it's easier to see that when I add the other octaves here. This arpeggio sounds great over a fully diminished chord, like that. It can also be used with a dominant flat 9 chord or over progressions where you want to create a lot of tension before resolving it. Now there are a ton of things you can do with these arpeggios improvisationally speaking, but the main thing is to get them memorized first so that you can simply start practicing them over the appropriate chords. And what I would do initially is to simply use the smallest 1 octave arpeggio that you began with and start targeting chord tones over that particular chord. So if I'm doing an A major 7, I would only do one section of it. I wouldn't do all 3 octaves. Maybe I prefer to play in the middle here and just work on targeting chord tones over an A major chord. Now, I threw in a little bit of the next arpeggio up there, but that's what I mean. When you get used to these arpeggios, then you can see where the other ones connect, and it's easy to add some high notes, some low notes. They're really fun to use. Even with very simple patterns like these arpeggios, I don't think it's best to try to use all 3 octaves in your practice sessions. Limit yourself to 1 octave like I was just doing, and that will enable you to listen to the music better and get a better feel for the various intervals in each arpeggio. In fact, anytime you want to become more musical in your improvisation, it's always best to limit the amount of notes you're working on. It's called limitation practice, and I cover that very subject in this video right here. Watch that next if you want to make your soloing more melodic right away.